Hello everyone! Today we will be talking about Annihilation, released in 2018, directed by Alex Garland, based off of the Jeff Vandermeer novel of the same name, which I haven't read. Got the Blu-ray of it because it's a really good movie. I'm going to put it up here because that's actually not that readily, is it? It's not too bad. Annihilation stars Natalie Portman, Oscar Isaac, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Gina Rodriguez, and Tessa Thompson in a movie about a biologist who goes on an expedition with 4 other scientists to research a mysterious zone that has formed after an asteroid hit a lighthouse. The lighthouse was basically the base of it all, and this zone, which they call the Shimmer, started at the lighthouse and it's been slowly expanding. And they don't know what to do about it. They have so little information on this, they don't understand how it works. People go in, they never come out. Drones go in, they never come out. No information has been found on what this is, how to stop it, what it does. Only theories. Basically, we learn pretty soon that what happens in there is that the laws of nature and biology just do not exist whatsoever. Now, it's quite a simple premise. I'll say it is simple, but that's okay. I really like it. It's creative, it has lots and lots of potential, and it uses it to its fullest. I really like the premise of this movie, even if it's kind of just reskins of other things that have been done before. So it's got a very much sci-fi plot. It's straight science fiction. However, the more the movie goes along, the more unsettling it gets, and I'd say that this could be secondly billed as a horror movie as well. This is definitely one of the creepiest movies that I think I've ever seen. It really gets under my skin. There's a lot of good body horror, just a lot of implications, just everything is just so off looking and it bugs me. At the beginning of the movie, for the first 20 to 25 minutes, it's a lot of theorizing, and to me it doesn't come off as exposition because it's not exposing anything. There's no explanations. It's just them basically saying, what the fuck is going on? And I really like it. It has a pretty gruesome opening too. Like the very start of the movie is quite gruesome, but then it's like something, it happens and then it just goes. It hooks you right from the start. At first I did think that the theorizing was a bit slow, but then when I rewatched this movie I realized it's necessary, because the major themes of the movie is not understanding things and having to accept that as a human, that you're not always going to get answers and that things won't always make sense, and that you're going to have to, as I said, accept it and move on. And another thing I noticed is that the characters, always, they're just guessing what is going on and they're just desperate for an answer. And although they kind of come up with some things that I think could be used as concrete evidence as to what's going on, most things in the grand picture are left open-ended. And some people, I know they don't like that because they're like, oh, but it doesn't make sense. I'm like, yeah, that's the point. You've got to accept that it doesn't make sense. In the nicest way possible, parts of it remind me of M. Night Shyamalan's The Happening. They're like trying to figure out what's going on. They're theorizing. They have some things that are concrete answers, but by the end of the day, they're just like, we don't know what's happened. We don't know what is happening, and we probably never will. Textbooks will give an answer, but it's not going to be concrete evidence. This movie, I've already mentioned, but it contains amazing body horror. Just things that get under your skin. It's nothing when you're watching it and it's so, it's not in your face. It's just the thought of what is happening to these people and the ideas. And it's not just people too, animals, like animal body horror too. Just the thought of where it goes is so chilling. Again, you see some stuff, but you don't see a hell of a lot in regards to gore. You just see like a bit of something horrific, and then you just start thinking about it. You're like, holy shit. This movie contains some of the best suspense of all time, there's one scene in particular which is super, super suspenseful. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. And it has some horrifying sounds too. It's a very much a trapped feeling in parts of this movie. You just feel so trapped. And I just think that it's brilliant the way it's all done. The soundtrack to this movie is excellent. I think it's really, really good. It starts off so differently. It's almost like kind of like a country vibe. But then by the end of it, it's just like nauseating noises, and it just makes you feel so off kilter. The ending is terrific. I know it leaves a lot of people unsatisfied, but for me, like the final act of this movie is one of the most mind-bending and just one of those things that you're going to be watching, and for the whole 20-25 minute period, your mouth is just going to be open. You're just trying to absorb it. Another thing that's represented really well in this movie is claustrophobia. As I said earlier, there's one really suspenseful scene where the characters are kind of trapped, and especially like as the movie goes on, the feeling of claustrophobia and basically being stuck in this place that they call the Shimmer with nothing you can do about it is just terrifying. It has some really, really interesting character motives too, as to like why they went into the Shimmer. I don't want to get too much into those kind of themes because they're kind of spoilers on some of the characters, and I just kind of like to people to, you know, figure it out for themselves, because it's really, really interesting. Very dark, but it's really, really interesting as to why they would subject themselves to the Shimmer. The only problem that I have with this movie is that some of the character motives, while they're interesting, it creates a lot of backtracking in the movie. So like, you know, there might be some scenes and it's intertwined with maybe like, you know, 30-second to a minute spurts of character backstory. And I understand, especially on the rewatch, I was like, okay, I get why it's there. It's definitely important. It creates two major motives for two different characters, and it makes sense. But it feels a little bit interruptive when you're just watching some crazy shit go down and it just kind of flashes back in time. It almost feels like a bit of a, you know, as I was trying to be a sigh of relief, because honestly this movie is very intense, and I don't know if that's what Alex Garland was going for, is for it to be kind of like, you know, a break of the tension just so you can breathe. But for me, I thought it's kind of an unavoidable issue because you need it and it's a bit hard to get around. That's about it as far as issues go. This movie is thought-provoking. It may not make sense. As I said, that's the point. We don't understand, and we won't understand everything that happens. And the truth is that sometimes we don't understand things that we do ourselves. And that movie really taps into it really well. Movie is really, really good. Really, really cool. Great in pretty much everything, aside from a few of the pacing issues that I mentioned, with some background info. But Annihilation gets 4.5 stars. Thanks for watching my review of Annihilation. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the movie as well. It's a really, really solid flick. Give it a watch if you haven't already. It's really good. See ya.